movie kicks off with a man and his wife hiding out in some place, and they look absolutely terrified. Suddenly, they hear someone banging on the door like crazy, demanding they open up. The woman, Maria, gets super flustered, and her husband, Franz, gears up right away to protect her. But unfortunately, a group of guys busts in, beats Franz down easily, and snatches his wife away with total brute force. Right then, Maria watches her husband getting dragged across the floor and dying right in front of her eyes. Years after that happened, we see a guy named Greider entering a tiny Austrian village. As soon as he rolls in, everyone is staring at him because tourists or visitors just don't come to this village. A group of men gathers around him and asks who he is and why he's there. He introduces himself and tells them he's just looking for a place to stay, nothing more. They tell him he'd better get lost and keep moving, but Greider isn't scared of their threats at all. He hops down and tosses one of them a pouch of money in exchange for staying in the village until winter. We find out then that these men are the sons of Brenner, the village leader who controls everything there. The 6 sons agree to let him stay as long as he's paying. Greider also pulls out a camera to take a photo of one of them. Keep in mind, my friend, there were no cameras in this era, so everyone was blown away by this device that documents a memory in just a few moments. This gave the old man Brenner an even bigger reason to let him stay for a bit until he figures out what his deal is. Anyway, Brenner's sons decide to take Greider to the house of an elderly widow so he can stay with her until winter in exchange for 1 gold coin. They ask her about her daughter, Lucy, and force her to come out and welcome the stranger, Greider. One of Brenner's sons grabs her by the neck real roughly to introduce her to the stranger. Of course, Greider finds his behavior toward her weird, but he chooses not to say anything. After that, the widow and Lucy take him to show him his room. He notices right then how incredibly sad they look, like they're totally defeated and can't go against the orders of Brenner or his kids. When night falls, Greider hides his rifle in the horse stable. Lucy sees him and asks him to come move so he can eat with them. Of course, the food is super basic because they're poor like everyone else in the village, except for Brenner and his kids, who are living the high life. Lucy talks to Greider with a lot of curiosity when she finds out he's from America, and she's happy that he sees Native Americans just walking in the street like that. When she asks him how he speaks German so well, he tells her he learned the language from his mother. Greider starts asking them who those men are and why they treat people like that. The widow explains that they are the 6 sons of Old Man Brenner, who sets the rules here and controls everything, but she claims he still looks after them and treats them well. Lucy doesn't look comfortable with that talk, though. It seems like she's hiding something. Anyway, at night, Greider pulls out a picture of his mother and keeps staring at it before he goes to sleep. It's becoming clear he didn't come to this village just to rest until winter, like he convinced them. At that same time, Lucy meets up with her boyfriend and fiancé, Lucas. They're supposed to get married soon, but they're terrified of Brenner and what he wants to do. The next day, Greider asks the widow if he can work and help them with anything. Even though she's refusing at first because he's their guest, Lucy tells her he can chop wood instead of them struggling like that. She asks to look at his photos first and is totally mesmerized by them. However, the photo of his mother isn't very clear, and he doesn't have a photo of his father because he died before he was even born. Lucy tells him she also lost her father and brother many years ago. After that, he goes out to chop wood for them, like they asked, and Lucy is happy and enjoys his company. She tells him she's heading to the village if he wants to come along, so he agrees. They both head out in a wooden cart with a horse to the heart of the village, especially since their house is somewhat isolated from the rest of the place. When they arrive, they go into one of the village shops to buy food and some stuff they need. When Greider asks about a horseshoe, the shop owner tells him they have a blacksmith who can provide what he wants. But suddenly, he finds one of Brenner's sons there, talking to Lucy. As soon as he gets close to her, 2 of his brothers show up to back him up. Greider tries to cool the situation down so the guy gets away from her and stops bothering her. But the man is aggressive and asks him, "Did anyone ask for your opinion?" He demands a glass of booze and wants Greider to drink it, but Greider explains that he doesn't drink at all. The man gets annoyed and gives a wicked smile. Suddenly, he hits Greider, knocks him to the ground, and forces him to drink the booze against his will. Finally, Lutzi calms him down and asks him to leave him alone. Our hero goes out with Lutzi afterward to hop on the cart and head back home. She tells him then that this place isn't right for him and he'll face a lot of harassment, so he absolutely must leave here before the snow falls, or he won't have any chance at all. But our hero just looks at her and refuses to respond to that. After a few days, Greider didn't say a word about what happened in the shop, but he was thinking and watching everything around him, especially the wooden cross hanging in the village where they crucify anyone who opposes Brenner and his sons. He goes to the village church afterward and keeps staring at the priest from a distance without saying a single word. Then he walks away quietly, leaving the priest totally confused. When he gets back home, he finds the widow preparing Lutzi's wedding dress. He finds out from her that she's getting married soon, and she asks him to take one photo of her and Lucas before the wedding. Greider agrees and has them sit down to take a souvenir photo. This happens right as the snow starts falling and his departure from the village gets closer. Anyway, the next day, Brenner's sons go out to chop wood from the forest for heating. They have this chute or slide set up so they can throw the wood and it reaches the other side without them having to carry it and get tired. But the shock comes when they see one of their brothers dead in a brutal way, with a piece of wood crushed against his stomach. They guess that he died from the wood and they just didn't notice. They head back to the village and ring the death bells so everyone knows one of Brenner's sons is dead. Indeed, everyone comes out to offer condolences to the village leader, or else the consequences would be absolutely disastrous. Brenner comes to see his son and looks sad, but he acts harsh as usual. He tells his remaining sons to take the dead body home so they can bury him there. Anyway, the next day, Lucas and his family come to the widow's house. They're happy when they see the photo of Lucas with Lutzi, but they look deeply sad. The father speaks and tells them he went to the priest and asked if it was okay to go through with the wedding, and he said it's fine, especially since he talked to Brenner beforehand. Lutzi gets upset when she hears this, leaves them, and goes outside. Lucas follows her and tries to calm her down. It seems like something is going to happen at the wedding that will shock everyone, especially since Lutzi suggests they run away together. But he refuses because of their families who would suffer after they're gone. But Lutzi insists and tells him, if you really love me, you have to do something. Our hero, Greider, was watching all of this from a distance, not quite understanding what the problem was exactly, since the guy and the girl clearly love each other. The next day, one of Brenner's sons goes out hunting, especially since food gets scarce with the snowfall and they rely more on hunting. But a deer escapes from him, so he decides to change his spot to catch it. Suddenly, he hears a noise around him, so he screams for whoever it is to show themselves. When there's no response, he keeps getting closer with extreme caution while holding his rifle. Right then, he finds a piece of wood full of nails hitting him right in the eye, blinding him completely. He tries to run away any way he can, but he can't see anything, and the situation is super tough, to the point where he falls off a high cliff and loses his life instantly. Back in the village, Brenner is worried because it's not like his son to be this late coming back from hunting. So after a few days, he sends his brothers to look for him and see where he went. At that time, Greider goes down and asks the widow to prep some food for him because he's leaving. He goes down to get his rifle and preps the horse. Lutzi sees him and is surprised because only Brenner and his kids are allowed to carry weapons. But our hero doesn't really care about that. He tells Lutzi that they'll be looking for him soon and he has to be ready. At that time, the brothers see their brother lying at the bottom of the cliff, dead. They ring the death bell again in the village and carry his body back with them. But when the father, Brenner, looks at the body, he's surprised because his eye was gouged out with nails before he even fell. He suspects it wasn't just a random accident. He makes his sons go out at night to search for Greider because he's the only stranger in the village and must be behind it. But when they reach the widow's house, they discover he packed his stuff and left. They go out looking for him everywhere, but the problem for them is that the snow erases the horse tracks, making it hard to reach Greider. But they're still sure he won't be able to get out of the valley in these harsh weather conditions. Despite all of this, Brenner insists on finishing the wedding of Lucas and Lutzi on time. At that moment, we see our hero taking shelter inside a cave and resting for a bit. The village people stand ready for Lutzi to come out for the wedding in the church. We notice then that our hero has come out of the cave and is standing far off, watching everything. Inside the church, there's a state of silence and fear like no other, especially for the couple, Lutzi and Lucas. The priest sits them down and starts the wedding rituals. But here we discover the huge shock. It turns out that any woman in the village who gets married has to marry Brenner for one day first, and then he hands her over to her husband. This explains why Lucy, Lucas, and their families are so sad. They're going to hand Lucy over with their own hands to Brenner so he can assault her, and then Lucas gets to marry her. And all of this while the priest has no problem with it at all because he's terrified of Brenner. Anyway, after everyone leaves the church, the priest is shocked to see Greider walking in with a rifle in his hand. Greider tells him, "I've come to confess. Don't people come here to confess too?" The priest gets scared and receives him while he's terrified. Our hero then confesses to him that he's the one who killed Brenner's two sons. When the priest asks about his identity, Greider pulls out the photo of his mother he always carries and shows it to him. Here we discover that Maria is actually Greider's mother. A long time ago, she tried to run away with her husband to escape Brenner's brutal ritual of assaulting her. We see flashes of the priest pinning her to the ground with total brutality and making her watch her husband as they crucify and kill him with extreme violence. All of that was because he refused to let Brenner assault his wife, neither before the wedding nor after. It turns out Maria came with her people to this village a long time ago. Of course, they asked permission from Brenner, who controls everything, and he agreed, but only when he saw they had girls he could assault when they grew up. Unfortunately, the families were starving and couldn't find food, so they decided to stay in this cursed village and follow Brenner's orders to the letter. Every girl who gets married has to be assaulted by him first before she marries her groom. Even though Franz escaped with Maria back then after she was assaulted, and they hid in the house of one of the village men, thinking they would escape, unfortunately the man was scared of Brenner's power, who had given him money, so he revealed their location with total cowardice. They crucified the husband and tortured him in front of all the village people to serve as a lesson for anyone who thought about opposing Brenner later. But one day, Maria managed to hit someone with a horse and took it and ran away immediately. From that day until now, no one ever saw her again. So Brenner decided to punish her family and burn their house down with them inside with total brutality. The groom stayed hanging for a long time until they took him down and buried him. The priest was remembering all of this as he looked into Greider's eyes and understood that he is the son of Maria, whom they treated so brutally back then. Without any intro, Greider pulls out the rifle and gives him one shot, finishing him off instantly. At that time, Brenner and his sons were having a small party for Lucy, Lucas, and their family. He's celebrating them as if he's doing something totally normal. Of course, everyone is sitting there terrified, knowing what will happen to them if they refuse. One of Brenner's sons comes and asks them to dance and celebrate. "Man, you really have no soul." Anyway, Lucy gets up to dance with Lucas to avoid trouble, and everyone starts clapping for them, acting like they're enjoying their time, even though in a bit, Brenner is going to assault her with no right at all. His sons even take her from Lucas to dance with her for a bit, and they keep fighting over her right in front of him. Of course, he can't take it and tries to intervene, but unfortunately, they beat him down with extreme violence under everyone's gaze, and nobody can say a word. Brenner's son asks him, "Do you think she belongs to you or what, sweetheart?" When they see he's quieted down, they leave him because it's time to present her to Brenner. Lucas is going crazy and doesn't know what to do, so Lucy calms him down because there's nothing he can do, unfortunately, and if he speaks, they'll kill him. The widow sits there sad and crying, feeling helpless, especially after Brenner's sons carry the girl with them onto the horses and start moving with her. But on their way, our brave hero Greider appears to them from a distance. They go charging toward him with all their strength, furious, but they're shocked as soon as they see the rifle in his hand. He tells them to let Lucy down or the consequences will be dire. One of the sons accepts his demand because he's surprised by the rifle he has. He agrees to let Lucy take the rifle from one of them and get down with it. Also, Greider forces them to throw all their weapons down in front of him. Even though they follow his words, he also makes them get off their horses. He makes Lucy ride one of the horses while she has the rifle, and he forces the eldest son to drive the rest of the horses away immediately. When he follows the orders, he tells Lucy to take the horse and run at full speed. At that point, the eldest son tells him, "Consider yourself a dead man." But Greider challenges him and says, "I'll come to you tomorrow in front of your farm and show me what you'll do then." He takes his horse and walks away from them without a word, until he reaches Lucy and takes the rifle from her. She asks him why he did this for her, but he doesn't answer. They continue the road together until they return to the village. As soon as Lucy sees her mother, she runs to her, breaking down in tears. Greider tells them to get ready because Brenner's sons will be coming for them here before anything else. He takes them on horses and they go to a certain house to hide. This house belongs to Lucas's family, who can't believe his eyes when he sees his girlfriend right in front of him. At that time, Brenner's sons are gearing up with weapons after they told their father what happened. He tells them to bring Greider to him alive so he can kill him himself. As for Lucas's family, they're scared because Brenner's kids will come and destroy them completely. But Greider calms them down and tells them he's the one who's going to them himself. An old woman supports him and thanks him for everything he's doing for them. Indeed, Greider returns to the village and enters the house of the man and woman who revealed his parents' location years ago. They think he's there to rob them, but he tosses money on the floor with total indifference. He tells the old wife to eat the coins or he'll kill her. She gets scared and follows his words immediately. When the old man tries to intervene, our hero gives him a blow that knocks him to the ground and takes another coin to force-feed it to the old man while she's breaking down crying, not understanding why he's doing this. But our hero doesn't remind them of anything, just takes his leave and walks away. At that time, the remaining sons of Brenner are out tracking his trail until they see him from a distance. Immediately, the four of them start attacking him, but he disappears quickly and goes to hide inside an old shack. They surround the place completely and open fire on him with everything they've got. When one of them goes in to see him, he's shocked by a bullet that hits him in the heart, finishing him off. At that point, the rest of the brothers are shocked and run away. But the hero snatches another one of them with a bullet to the leg, knocking him to the ground. He exchanges fire fiercely with the rest, not caring about anyone. He goes and takes cover like that. The injured son starts calling out for his brothers, who are scared to come out, but one of them rushes out quickly while the other provides cover fire. At that moment, our hero Greider pops out and gives him another bullet, making him scream in pain. The other brother gets enraged and comes out recklessly, and the result is he takes a bullet to the heart and dies instantly. Now there's only the eldest son and the other injured one, who's still in pain. The eldest son quickly comes out to drag him, hoping to save him, and actually manages to get him behind a tree at the last second. He finds another brother still has some life in him, so he preps his rifle so they can pop out and fire at the same time and finish Greider. They actually come out firing with total ferocity, completely enraged. Our hero hits one of them in the head, finishing him, and the other goes totally crazy and keeps firing randomly until our hero appears to him and gives him a bullet too, knocking him to the ground. He goes out and gives him the final shot to have eliminated Brenner's 6 sons all by himself. He takes his horse afterward and heads back to the village to finish off the old scumbag too and rid everyone of him. As soon as he arrives, he finds the atmosphere very quiet, but he gets flustered when a small child appears behind him and grabs a rifle. But the father comes out, takes him, and moves him away from the spot immediately. At that point, the village blacksmith, who is loyal to Brenner, appears and ambushes our hero with a fierce attack. He tries to fend him off, but the violent blacksmith hits him with a dangerous piece of iron, injuring him and making him drop the rifle. But he reaches it quickly and gives him a shot, but the blacksmith pushes through and gets close, stabbing the iron into Greider's shoulder with total violence and choking him hard to finish him off. But right here, he finds a bullet hitting him in the back, knocking him to the ground dead. It turns out Lucas is the one who got brave and did that, like he's returning the favor after what Greider did for them. When he tries to pick him up to take him for treatment, our hero refuses to move before he goes and takes his revenge on the old fascist. He actually enters Brenner's house and finds all the servants in one room, terrified. He keeps walking until he reaches the old man's room. Immediately, he tosses his mother's photo at him so he remembers what he did to her. Here's the shock. Greider is actually Brenner's son because he assaulted Maria before the father Franz could even get close to her. When he finds out that our hero killed all his brothers, he asks him to end his life quickly too because he has nothing left to live for. Despite Greider's breakdown and crying, it's impossible for him to forgive a monster in human form like Brenner. All he does is make it quick like he asked and ends his life forever. He walks out after that, having freed the village from the injustice and slavery of Brenner and his sons. He goes back to the widow so she can treat the harsh wound in his shoulder. He stays in bed for 3 weeks from that time until he recovers. Despite everything he did, the village people were split, one part sad over Brenner because of the brainwashing they faced all those years, and another part thanking God they were done with him. But in the end, before the year was up, our hero was preparing to leave the village forever, especially since he finished his mission perfectly. He didn't just take revenge for what happened to his mom and dad back then. He took revenge for all the girls Brenner and his sons hurt over the years. And that's where the movie ends. I hope you guys liked the summary. If you made it to the end, don't forget to like the video and write us a beautiful comment like you always do. For those seeing us for the first time, subscribe to the channel to see all the coming summaries. I'll see you in the next movie. Peace.